What's going on, guys? Welcome yet to another Laravel tutorial. Now, in this tutorial, we are going to be implementing how to integrate certain pages, which is one of the most important things. Why? Because we now can create our normal nice looking platform, which has got a user email address and so forth. But then what if you want to have a custom page? How do you make it possible? Because we still want to be able to still use our login. We still want to be able to have our people register on our platform. Now, to do that, I did download a specific template, to be more precise, which is this one from Templates Hub. Now, this platform or this nice template is one for just an e-commerce shop, which I didn't create, but I can just tell you that this template is available online, and I'll leave the link to where you can download it for free. So on this platform or on this tutorial, our main goal is we want to integrate this whole page, to be more precise, onto our Laravel platform. So how we're going to go about it is we first need to understand how our project is designed. One of the most important aspects of us understanding how our project is designed is us understanding which type of framework we're using. And currently, this was our project which we used to install Laravel Breeze, which we had our admin, user, or two different types of people that could log in. So the first and foremost thing that we're going to have to do is we always have to first extract the template, which I already have over here. And we also have our project folder, which is under my Laravel files, and which is this one. So the second item that we're going to do is we need to be able to access our files, which we have inside our text editor. And I think you've realized for me, I'm currently using Atom. Now, to integrate these two pages or these two files is one of the most important things. Why? Because they just don't integrate the way we might think that they would. But how we can go about it is we can now make sure that this file that we have, or these files that we have for our project, which is under downloads, ecom, and all these files, so we can make sure that all these files are available inside our main project. So we can get in, highlight everything. After highlighting everything, we can now move it to where our project is stored. But then I want you to I want you to take note a lot of where exactly am I putting it. Our main project folder is going to go inside our page called public. Now inside public, all we're just going to do is we're just going to put our files there so that we can be able to access them through Laravel. So I'm just going to paste them like this. Now, pasting them doesn't mean that they are now available. No, it only means that now we can now go inside our main project folder, which is this one. And within our project folder, public, we will be able to see all these files. Now, remember, we want them to be seen on our platform. So how do we get them to see? First, we've got number one, our routes, which are quite important. Secondly, we've got our resources, which give us certain views to certain pages. Now, all these are going to work at some point, but what we're going to do is we're going to go inside our views over here, and inside here we're going to create a new folder, and let's just call it home. Yeah, let's just call this folder home. So folder inside views, we call it home. And inside home, let's create a new file, and let's call this one index.blade.php. So after creating this file is the one that is going to be seen by our platform, or that's going to be seen on our platform. But remember, this file is currently empty and it needs to contain information. But remember, in as much as it is going to contain information, it still needs to be accessed from some certain point. So for us to do that, we need to make sure that we can be able to create a custom route that can be able to see the specific file. Now, if we come to our routes, you will see that we already have a welcome page, but this welcome page redirects us to a page in which already has Laravel information, which is what we are currently seeing over here. Right, let me just over here. Now, how then do we get to make it syn? Because our file is in a folder called public, all we now need to do is to change the route page or the view page that we could mention number one, the folder, number two, the name of the what? The name of the file, which is index. Now, on this index page is currently empty. Let's just put something and say HTML, and then let's just put an h1 just for you to see that it can contain information. So we can just say Ghost Inc. Gaming. If we save and come back to our folder and refresh, you will see that our main page, whenever you're reloading your page, now goes into the file that is inside your home. And that file is called what? So we now know that our file is inside our home, and that file is what? Is index. But remember, we want to integrate the page that we came with. So we don't need to actually integrate it like this. Now you could have a function like this, or you could now actually create your own custom route that uses your what? Your main controller. Now, if you hadn't created a controller, I think this will be the time that you can create a controller. Now let's take a look. Did we have any controllers that we created? No, we didn't have. So now we can go back and create our what? Our controller. Inside here, CMD. All right. Now comes the second part. How do we create a controller? Now, if we go back to our notes for Laravel, you would realize that I gave you a command that is used to create a controller. So this one is to make a model, whereby you can make a model, PHP artisan make, then you specify model and then the name of the model. And it is a similar command. Now, CMD, that, oh no, we're not making it inside public. Please take note of your directories. So inside here, CMD, PHP artisan make, a controller, and let's just call it home controller. Voila, our controller has been created, meaning that now when we come back to our folder, we should be able to see our controller over here, which is empty. Now coming back to our routes, now we can create our custom route, whereby we would say route is going to get information from pretty much our main, and our main is going to be also utilizing our controller. So we can say home controller. By the way, we still need to actually mention our home controller at the top, and we could have a class, and this class will be getting information from, let's just call it index as well. The name of the what? The name of the function. So over here, use app http / controller, and our controller's name is home controller, like that. All right. That being done, it now means that we can create our own custom routes using our own what? Our own home controller. The choice is ours. We can call our function home, you can call our function index, you can call your function welcome, so forth and so forth. Right? Now, after doing that, it now means that we now need to go into our controller, where we are going to create a public function with that name that we gave it, called what? Let's call it index, which returns nothing. And with this one, we want it to return a view, but remember the name of the view differs now. It is now home.index. Why is the name of the view being different? Because our view is no longer just a single page, but we are first specifying the folder and the name of the file. So home.index, we save that. If we come back and refresh, quoted string. All right. Let's just see where we went wrong. Oh yes, I do see where I went wrong. So we go back to our code on our web.http. It is this beautiful looking part where we've got our error says our home controller index. All right, so now that we have created this, we can actually remove this one, and then we're fixing it. Controller, our function name is called index. Our function is called index. So yeah, so we left, or I see I left a comma between these two. Refresh, there we go. So we've got our page. Awesome. Next, now we need to integrate the actual page and its contents. Now, integrating the actual page and its contents is a little bit not trickier, but different from what maybe others might have been expecting. Why? Because each time when you're running the project, if you take a look at where our project is currently at, if we open our web page, our web page says this is on index.html and so forth and so forth. So for us to be able to integrate it onto this nice, beautiful looking page, what exactly are we going to do? We are going to come into our folder, which is our public folder. So allow me to just close this public folder. And I'm going to open my index.html, not index.php, but index.html, which is this page with the beautiful looking what? Beautiful looking website. Now, all I need to do is pretty much copy and paste everything onto my index.html, which is this one. Now, once I save, it will copy, but it will have a few things that are different. Why? Because some of the CSS needs to be properly imported. As you can see, our web page has changed, which is nice. But then you might encounter issues, especially when it comes to issues with things like links. A very good example of the links that I'm referring to links or to pages or to files which are directly linked into your files or into your project. Now, this is not referring to projects, or this is not referring to anchor tags that have got links that go externally. I'm referring to things like, let's see from here. All right, things, for example, like this bootstraps file, things like maybe this style sheet and so forth. Now, for you to be able to utilize all of these, you need to be able to specify where exactly are they. As you can see, this document already tells you that this is in CSS, it's a bootstraps file, and it's in this specific location, right? But for us to be able to access it from this specific page, we now need to add what we call an asset management. So you just start by adding your curly braces, and then you specify the keyword asset, and then you open your double brace, which is going to have 2 double quotes, and on this side you also before like that. Now all you just need to do is pretty much copy this whole text of line into this place. Now you will do this with all the files that have got links or that have got files that are linked onto your document directly. So again, over here, double curly brace, asset, double bracket with quotes, and then you close. Now with some files it might work without you having an issue, but it is not advisable for you to be having anchor tags that are like this. I remember when we first did our routes, pretty much this is the same concept behind the routes that we are doing. So you would have to do it wherever there's an anchored document, or wherever there's a document that is anchored onto your what? Onto your PC. Remember, this is how we put our anchor tags. Now, some of them I don't care about them, but I think I would also want to add those that are at the bottom, because I remember usually there's a JavaScript file at the bottom. Oh yes. So over here and over here, then you put your curly braces, then you type asset, and then your double quotes, and then you also go and close on the other side with that line of code. I know it's tedious, I know it looks very weird, but this is the best way to actually keep your files intact without you having any issues. So in other words, this is what we do. Remember, we are working with frameworks, which is one of the most important reasons why we're doing this. So if you're working with a framework, you know that these are pretty much working with templates. We refresh our page. All right, there's something that doesn't match on JavaScript line 49 something. So assets. Oh yes, here. You close that, and that. Refresh. Voila, we are back on our nice, beautiful looking page. So we can still see our page, but then this time we are not just seeing it from this specific page. So which means that well, we no longer really need this template as per se. We now have this one. But remember, on this template, we can still not access our login. As you see, if I click on login, it is just retaining on the same page, and so forth and so forth. So how then do we get this information to work? One of the key things that Laravel does is it allows you to separate files just in case you want to edit your information. The separation of files, by that is, I am referring to how information can be utilized from different aspects. So what we are going to do is we are going to go back to our code, and I want us to separate all our files that are inside the head. Now, one might ask why the head, because within the head of a document or of a page, let me just go to the top. Okay. Within the head of a page, it is literally pretty much this most important information. So now if we come here and click and then highlight everything until where the head ends, which is here. Now I'm going to cut it, save it, and I'm going to show you. You see, so if you don't have a head, it mainly looks like something like this. But then how are we going to counteract that this information appears? For those that have done PHP with, they would understand that we utilize what is known as an include statement. So back in our public folder, we did create a folder called home. So resources. So in our views, in our home, we are now going to create a new file. Now this file, we can call it, let's say, CSS. Now one might ask why CSS, because this is pretty much where all the links are actually located. Now I'm going to paste my whole file, or that I copied from index over here. Then what I'm going to do is, because these files are within the same page, I'm going to utilize a statement called an include. So it's at include, then you specify the name of the document. Now, what's the name of our document? Is it Blade or CSS? No, the document is in a folder called home.css. We are specifying the folder. We are specifying the file of the name. This allows your project to run a little bit much more smoothly. So we do that, we save, and after saving, I believe I don't have a mistake. All right, sorry about that, just wanted to do that. Now on this CSS, there is nothing except the head of this document, and on this one there is nothing but just this document. So if I come back and refresh my folder, undefined constant home, oh yes, I'm supposed to actually add those. F5. As you can see, our page for what? For home is back. Now, this we mainly do it because we're trying to make sure that our information is a little bit separate. And by separate, I'm not referring to us separating the files, but I'm referring to how our work is going to look like when we are running it. So we can now further separate on some extra information. All right, so we've got the body, which has got a ton of information. All right, so we can call this the header, I guess. So let's go to where the header starts. As you can see, it starts over here. It starts over here. So if it starts over here, which part exactly is the header that we need to know? Obviously on our page, we would know that, all right, so our header is going to be from here going further down. So, well, let's manipulate it. If we are going to manipulate it, going back into our code, we then get to pick which part is it that we're going to be referring to, because the idea is we want to be able to customize information, but we also want to be able to utilize information that is going to be working for us. So I'm going to copy the whole information inside the header until to where it ends, which is this one. I'm going to open a new file inside my home, and well, I'm going to call it, I'm thinking of a name that I can call it. Well, we can call it home. Nah, but no, let's just keep it the same as the tag header.blade.php. We paste it, we save, we paste the information, we save, and then inside here we are also going to come and include the name of the document, which is home.header. If we refresh, or no, let me say before I refresh, actually, let me just count this out. I want to show you which part is the header on our page or on our file. As you can see, it's out. If I put it back, then you can see that our header is what? Is also back. Now you can get to do this for, let me say, all of the files that you have, or all of the things that you have that you want to separate. So pretty much the next is this section, which is the slider. This is where the slider ends, right? Let me see. This is where the slider ends. Just want to make sure. Shop section. All right, so it ends here. So these two sections are ours. So from here until the end of the shop, we cut this. Inside our home, we create a new file. Let's just call it slider as well, slider.blade.php. We paste our information, and then we also come and include So the guys that are once taught PHP, they might get an understanding as to why we do this, because one of the reasons why we actually get to separate our files is we're just trying to make sure that when you're editing, you don't have to go through the whole page. You just go to the specific part that you need, and all your information is going to work. As you can see, if I remove my slider and I refresh my page, we no longer have anything on our shop. But if I put back my slider, we now have content within the shop. So we can get to do this for, let me just say, all of our pages. Now this part is the contact section, so end of contact, Control X, new file, contact.blade.php. You save this side, then this side I'm just going to come and say include home.contact, and I'm just going to do it for the last section pretty much, which is the footer. Yep. All right, and I'm just going to say include. I haven't created the footer, so home.footer, and then over here, new file, footer.blade.php, like that. And if we come back to our page and it loads, we shouldn't have any issues whatsoever, but let's just give it a second to load to see. All right, we do have an error, no connection to the database. Let me just check. My SQL stopped running. I've restarted it. All right, yes, our project is perfectly working. So how then do we now get to have this? Remember, on this e-commerce, we've got a login, but it literally leads you nowhere. So for us to be able to get to know this login is literally inside the header. So meaning that if we now want to edit this part of the login, all we just need to do is go to where our CSS, I guess. Let me just see. No, we go to our header specifically. Yes, where we go to our header, and our header is the one that contains the login option. So let's see. There's a part which I'm looking for, login, which is this part. Now obviously login has a what? An anchor tag. So we are just going to specify our anchor tag for login using how we've been accessing our routes. So it's URL, and obviously it is called what? Login. Now, but also remember, we also have to have people register as well. So why not copy and paste? So this div tag for this anchor tag for login, I'm just going to copy and paste it. Copy. Sorry. Add some space now. And obviously, so now we've got login, and now we'll also have what? Register, and we just call this login as a capital. So I'm just going to make it more uniform. And this one, well, the other one is using a user. Well, we can use a different FAID for register, and one of the FAIDs for register that we could actually use is what you call a V card. So we can just call it a what? A V card. If we don't have any issues, we refresh our page. Oh, we now have 2 logins. So let's see. All right, so I did copy and paste twice, so I can remove this one. I refresh. So we've got login, whereby when we click login, it now takes us to our login route. And when we click register, it takes us to our registration route. Thank you so much for joining me on this tutorial. Let's meet again on the next tutorial, as we are going to be exploring how to actually integrate an admin dashboard onto your project.